Okay, we're going to look at metric conversions. So this is just going to be a very quick review. In physics, the metric or the SI unit, the base unit, is meters for length. For math, however, it's kilograms, and that is different from what you've seen in chemistry. You should be used to working with grams if you took physical science or chemistry. The base unit or the SI unit for temperature is Kelvin. For volume, it's meter cubed, as it should be. And pressure, this is also different. Pressure is done in pascals. That's PA. You're used to seeing it in millimeters of mercury or atmospheres. And then finally, energy is joules. Now the next thing I want to talk about are actual conversions. This is just sort of a helpful diagram to look at different conversions. Now I, however, want to talk about my number line to the right of the room. So it goes giga, and then we skip a few spaces, and then we're at mega, and then we have kilo, hecto, deca, and then your base unit. And then we have deci, and then centi, and then milli, and we skip a few spaces and go to micro, and then we skip a few spaces more, and we'll be at nano, and then we'll skip a couple spaces and we'll be at pico. Those are the most commonly used prefixes for doing conversions. And that's how I like to look at conversions. If you look at that number line, like say I wanted to get from kilo to giga, well, if I start at kilo, I would have to count left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to giga. Now that means that there are 10 to the 6th kilometers in 1 gigameter. Or, you know, if we're using language that we're used to, let's talk about computers. There are 10 to the 6th, okay? That is 1 million. 10 to the 6th is 1 million. That's 1 with 6 zeros. Okay, so there are 1 million kilobytes in 1 gigabyte. Okay, so that's just sort of how you use that number line on my board. You start with your smaller one, you count left how many spaces it takes to get to the next value, and that's how many of the smaller objects there are in the larger ones. Okay, so let's look at this example. We're going from decameter, this is a capital D, and deca means 10. Okay, that means that 1 meter would be 10 to the first. Okay, there's 10 to the first meters in 1 decameter, so essentially there are 10 meters in 1 decameter. So if I had 77.8 decameters, if I multiply that by 10, I can get the number of meters. And that's sort of what this means. If I'm going down, so if I'm going from deca to meter, I essentially went down this way, I just need to multiply by a value of 10. If I was going from deca to deci, then I needed to go 1, 2 spaces, so I would multiply by 10 to the 2. Okay, now the way I would do this, let's say it wasn't so easy, but we're going from deca meters to meters. I'm going to start with what I know. I know I need to get rid of decameters, so that's going to go on the bottom, and meters is going to go up top, so that's the unit that I'm left with. This is my conversion chart, basically. Decameters are going to cancel, but my conversion, how many meters are in the decameter? We just figured that out. There are 10 meters. If you look at the number line to the right of the classroom, then if we start at meters, we have to go left 1 time. So that's 10 to the first meters in 1 decameter. Okay, and if you do this, you should get 778 meters. Okay, you're dealing with the same digits each time. Now let's look at going from deca to hecto. This one is also pretty simple. You can even see it up here on this nice picture. We're going from deca to hecto. So if you have a stair step like this, then hey, let's just use what it tells us to. It says deca to hecto. I need to divide by 10. So if I have 77.8 decameters, and I need to go to hectometer, I'm going to divide that number by 10 and get 7.78 hectometers. Now the way you would use your number line is this. We have 77.8 decameters. Again, decameters needs to go on the bottom in order to get this conversion, and hectometers needs to go on the top. So if I look to the right of the room with my number line, then I'm going to start at Deca. I move left one space to get to Hecto. Hecto. That means that there are 10 to the 1 decameters, because Deca, I'm moving left, there are 10 to the 1 decameters in 1 hectometer. So essentially I do 77.8 divided by 10, voila, 7.78. Now finally we're going to go from Deca to kilo. So I'm actually moving up 2 spaces here. So let's go ahead and do it this way. 77.8 decameters. And I need to go from decameters to kilometers. Okay, or kilometer, however you want to say that. So I'm going to start with Deca. And I have to go left 2 spaces. Now Deca is smaller, okay? When you're moving towards the left, you're getting bigger, okay? So Deca is smaller. So that means there's 10 squared, or 10 to the second power, essentially 100. There are 100 decameters in 1 kilometer. So now we're just going to divide by 10 to the second power. So that is going to be 0.778 kilometers. And you can see that some things make sense and some things don't. If this was an actual distance, you know, we like things to be in whole numbers, or, you know, like 1 digit before the decimal. But hectometers isn't a useful quantity. We don't really speak in hectometer terms, so that wouldn't necessarily be the best. If I was talking about this, I would probably use kilometers, because 778, that's close to 1 kilometer. So I would prefer, like if you were doing a physics problem or something and you get this, I would prefer the answer being kilometers. Now, here we have a different type of problem. We have 19,003.9 microliters. This is a micro here. This kind of looks like a U, or a fancy M and a U squished together. Okay, that's your micro symbol. Like this, it's actually the Greek letter mu, so it's an M and a U mixed together. Don't let that confuse you. Anyways, we have 19,000 something microliters, and we need to turn that to milliliters. If you look at the number line on the right, again, find micro. Notice that it is 3 spaces away from milli. Okay, so I would start at micro and I would go to the left 3 spaces. So I'm going to start with what I know. Microliters. I need microliters on the bottom and milliliters on the top. So if there's 3 spaces and micro is smaller, that means there's 10 to the 3 microliters in 1 milliliter. So now let's just divide by 10 to the 3rd power. So I get 19.0039 milliliters. Same thing for hectoliters. Now if I'm going from micro to hecto, I'm going to have to move pretty far. So let's go ahead and count that. If I start at micro, I'm moving to the left 6 spaces to get to meter, and then 2 more spaces to get to hecto. So I moved to the left a total of 8 times. So there are 10 to the 8th microliters in 1 hectoliter. Now, don't get confused, guys. Right now, as I do this video, I am looking at the number line, or the prefix line, that is colored to the right of the classroom, and I'm looking at each prefix and counting the number of spaces that I have to get to the next one. Okay, so we have 19,003.9 microliters, and I'm going from hectoliter. A lot of you guys, once you get to, a lot of you might want to maybe convert it to a base unit, which in this case would be liters. So there are 10 to the 6 microliters and 1 liter, and then go from liters to hectoliter. That's perfectly fine. I just like doing it all in one step. So here I have microliter. Microliter needs to go here, and hectoliter needs to go here. So that being said, we just said there are 10 to the 8th microliters in 1 hectoliter. So I'm going to put that into my calculator and give a nice scientific notation answer, because I don't want to write all those zeros. So that turns out to be 1.9 times 10 to the negative 4th hectoliters. Finally, we can go to centiliter as well. If we're going to go from micro to centi, I think we are moving over 4 spaces. It's covered up right now, but I think we're moving over 4. So we're going to do this same deal. Micro, we're going from microliters to centiliter. None of these really make sense. We don't use hectoliter or centiliter. This is just for the purpose of practicing. So let's start at micro. I'm going to count to centi. And I go 1, 2, 3, and I'm at milli, and 4, I am at centi. Okay, so there are 10 to the 4th microliters in 1 centiliter. So I'm going to do this, divide by 10 to the 4th, and I get approximately 1.9. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1.9. 1.9 centiliters. So in this case, 1.9 is the prettiest number here. So I would prefer to put my answer in centiliters. However, you know, if you end up doing scientific notation for really small numbers or something, that's perfectly fine. So there's just a basic review. I'm hoping it's not too new for you. However, if it is, just practice using the prefix line in the classroom. You can take down those papers if you need to. Also, use the resource page that I gave you on the first day of school. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Please make sure everything is completed. You have plenty of class time to complete these conversions. Have a good day.